Hello there. What a bittersweet episode of Hello There we've got today. For now, it's the finale for Obi-Wan Kenobi. We are talking part 6 here. Obviously jumping into heavy spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, bookmark this, go watch that, come back. Hopefully you're joining us at twitch.tv/thegeekiverse. I'm Josiah Leroy. With me today, Mr. Baba Yaga, John Fick. John, you ready to wrap this up?
Man, the fact that we haven't missed a week or a month or anything or any hiatuses on this show like we often have in the Geekiverse as life happens goes to show you how freaking good this show has been. We just can't stop talking about it. We've texted about it for days. Every episode we're texting for hours the next day, and we just can't wait to talk about the show. And the finale, baby, the finale.
Well, that's exactly it. It was funny. I was like, man, we should do this with other shows, but they're not the same. And then I think hey, what if we did this with Andor? Not going to happen.
Yeah, we're not going to keep that up.
Yeah.
It's just not going to get there.
Mando we could maybe do, though. But I think Mando we might be able to make happen.
I haven't seen Mando, so saying.
I think Mando... So here's my opinion real quick before we move on. I do think we should do that with the next season of Mando, what we've done with Kenobi. But it would maybe be cool to do a rewatch with Tim on that.
I was just gonna say we don't have to do episode by episode. Maybe we just do like 2 episodes, season 1 and 2, or maybe we do a couple episodes. We should talk about that. That's definitely that should be the next thing we do with Star Wars.
100% that should exist, and then we pick up in the spring or whenever season 3 happens. Mr. Tim Talbot, you ready to wrap this thing up?
I am on a Star Wars. I wouldn't call it a kick because it's more than a kick. It's like
it's a high.
Consumed me.
Yeah.
It's consumed me. It's like everything, and it's kind of funny, right? It's it's all of it. So John kind of mentioned too. It's like even before we started recording here, I had to start shutting up because there's just so much I want to say. So I'm just so excited.
It's so easy with this series to talk about it. It's truly been a water cooler moment. Where hey, it's the talk of the week. People walk into my office all day. Hey, did you see the episode? Hey, oh my gosh, you see that moment? It's like it's awesome. We talked about it on past episodes here on Hello There. It's been a thing where I get up early. Did you, Tim? You did not get up early for this.
I wish I did. And really quick too here before we start. This wasn't caught because it was talked about before we started recording, but John specifically said that if you see him out and you want to talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi, he only wants Obi-Wan Kenobi to be referred to as Obi.
Correct.
So just so everyone knows, if you see him, he doesn't want to hear you talk about it unless it's Obi.
Kabobi.
Tim, I hold the power of your audio levels, just so you know.
Look at this guy over here.
I just had to say that.
Yeah, John, you did not get up early for this episode.
I didn't. No, I watched this one lunch at work.
I'm a maniac. I got up at 3.
You got up at 3.
I got up at 3 and went back to bed when it was over.
How did you go back to sleep?
I know. I made a choice. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm laying in bed at 10 o'clock the night before, and I'm setting my alarm. I'm like, what time do I have to probably get up? 6:30, and then I'll be okay to get to work. And it was like Lauren read my mind. She's like, you're going to get up at 3. I go, I'm going to get up at 3. It's the last episode. It's the last one. I got to do it. Listen, sleep deprived dad here. I was struggling to get to sleep when we were talking around 10:30 that night. And Buddy, my dog, had to go to the bathroom at like 12:30. I checked my phone on the app just in case.
Oh, how sick would that have been?
Ooh.
Right? And then I'm like, okay, all right, slow down, Joe. How do we get there? Got myself to sleep. Got into a deep sleep. My alarm went off at 3. I had no problem getting up. None whatsoever. Didn't have coffee. Yep. I was just like, let's do this.
Obi-Wan.
I watched any other show. I would have been sitting on the couch at this time, which is I wouldn't have gotten up at that time. Without coffee, anything, I would have struggled. This kept me going big time. And oh my gosh, what a payoff. We've talked about it in the group chat. We're going to get to a lot of things about the payoff, the consistency. This is one of the most highly consistent series I've ever seen in my life, where the bar is up here and it meets at every episode. I would argue this last episode or part actually exceeded some of those expectations. And then we made a checklist not an actual checklist, but we kind of all
Mental.
together had these. Yes, we had these items that we wanted to see in this last episode, and they basically did all of them, all the ones within reason. You know, not the crazy,
everything rational.
like,
Everything we wanted to see for the most part.
Love to see Ahsoka flashback. Love to see Cal Kestis from Jedi Fallen Order. That would have been fun. But you know what? Everything here was purposeful. We got that fanfare, and it wasn't for the sake of fanfare.
It was so focused on the story. Everything mattered. Yes, this was a very focused series. Like the antithesis of what Boba Fett was, right? Like that show was all over the place, and they're giving us stuff that really doesn't even need to be here. They just really need us, give us a reason to keep watching the show, in my opinion. Obi-Wan was just perfect for this, man. Everything that we wanted to be there was there, and it all was super important. Like, I think the big three probably would have been, number one for me, getting Anakin's voice, getting maybe some face with the Vader mask, seeing Anakin and Vader, conflict, not even conflicted, but just seeing both physical forms, right, come through. Qui-Gon is a close second right there. I wanted to get that. And then Palpatine. Like, how have we not seen the Emperor yet? Like, right? Those were like the big three wants. And I'm like, are we going to get these all in the last episode? Is it going to feel rushed and crammed in? We got them, and it was all awesome.
What a teaser with the Qui-Gon when he was in the carrier. I was like, oh, we're for sure going to get him. He's sitting there like talking to him like, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It didn't happen. I was like,
I will say, I completely called it last week. It might even been 2 weeks ago. I'm like, I'm no longer convinced that Qui-Gon is going to be like the pump up conversation. I think the next time that Obi-Wan steps foot on Tatooine, he will have already had his conflict with Vader. He's going back to live his life of seclusion and watch over Luke, and he's going to meet up with Qui-Gon there. Like, beat for beat, what happened?
One prediction I got right, I'll say, was Reva lived. Right?
Yeah.
That's one thing we're like, no, she's gone. What an arc that is. Like, to see where she went. She was a way better character than I anticipated, because maybe I was burned from some of the cameos we've seen over the last few years, not just in across Star Wars, actually, I'll say. So some of the sequel movies, Boba Fett for sure, Mando even to a degree, even though I'm giddy every time I see one. I was like, okay, we get to Reva, and I'm like, she's not going to be a fully developed character. She's a throwaway. She's the third sister, right? She's an Inquisitor that is just going to be gone by the end of this.
And she was so reckless that you figured her path ended in death, right? Like, how else could they do this character? She's so reckless. And then even after you figure out her true intentions, like, she's going all in, and she's going to get what she wants at all costs. And that's, that likely would end up in her death. Right. But we get I think a very well done redemption arc.
Yes, a hugely fulfilling character to me, and I love the prospect of where we go from here if we continue that on. But I guess we'll take it back a little bit. If you have to sum up this episode, just your reaction to it, you see it, you get to the credits, you feel fulfilled. Is there anything we missed? John, like, what's your 101 on part 6 of Kenobi?
It's perfect, man. It's a perfect finale. Kenobi is as perfect of a show as I could have asked for here. They didn't do anything I didn't expect. That's, I guess, the only thing that I could say that doesn't make this like a 10 stamp it 10 out of 10 for sure. Like, blew me out of the water. We were just talking off air about a game like God of War, like all this unexpected stuff that hits you and makes it so high. It didn't really have that, which is totally fine, because like I was just signed up to have Ewan and Hayden back in their characters and like to see more of this character. And they just executed everything so perfectly. Everything we wanted, like we said, I think you can apply that to the whole series. Anything that we wanted that was on our wish list that was reasonable, we got in this series, and it was well done. And man, yeah, again, no big surprises or anything like that, but the highs were just super, super cool. The Obi-Wan's force powers coming back in that fight, man, like seeing Ewan McGregor like be that badass Jedi that we always wanted to see. Like, the prequels had some silly choreography and stuff like that. Seeing what like a Jedi could be in the new Disney canon, like in the technology we have and what we've established Jedi can do, man, like everything was just so good. I'm all over the place, but it was awesome.
Floating rocks, man. Floating rocks. Tim, your 101 on part 6.
I was obsessed. So it's actually funny, Joe, you mentioned you woke up at 3:00 to watch it. So my son had to go pee at 3:15. And I was like, oh, here we go. I was already awake. I was like, I opened the app because we talked about maybe it wasn't over an hour. I was like, if it's over an hour, I'm doing it. I don't want to waste the time. I'm going to go watch it. I saw it was 51 minutes. I'm like, going back to bed. Like, I can do that. at work. So actually, I was at work, and I tell my assistant, I'm gonna be in a meeting for about an hour. Like, don't knock the door. So I go to my office. I have the computer on. I'm watching. I'm like, the lights can't be on. I go shut off the lights. The movie ends, and my partner walks by, like, gives me this look through the window. I'm like, I'm watching something. So that's how I watched it. So peace, quiet. Lights were off. It was awesome. But I mean, from my perspective, it was probably one of my favorite things that I've watched Star Wars in a long time. I mean, I always talk about how much I love lightsaber dueling, and just to see characters that you loved in that capacity and see them incorporate everything into it. I mean, that alone set it for me. It's just like I was getting teary. I was watching that all like, shit, I'm gonna cry.
So many times I didn't full on cry at all during this, but like so many times I was swelling up for sure. Yeah, but you talk about the lightsaber battles, the visuals behind these lightsaber battles. I didn't think anything could touch the Force Awakens in like that snowy forest, but like, dude, these night shots of the red and blue lightsaber with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, man, like dude, the visual is so good. Oh man.
Dude, this is shot unlike any other lightsaber duel we've ever seen, too, because in most cases, it's up close, but the camera is there. It was like someone was running around them with a camera, and it was just a little bit shaky enough, and that kind of encapsulated their battle, right? Because even though they're both super powerful, you can argue whether or not they're in their prime. This was different. This was up close. The glow of those lightsabers, John, like you referenced with Force Awakens, I'm with you. I never thought we'd get anything like that. And this was a different environment altogether, but it was perfect. And then those quick shots right up close of Ewan or even Vader, like, damn.
Dude.
They nailed it.
Just even the colors, like when Vader's talking, and we talked a little bit about this before, where he hid the voice switches between Vader. They did such a good job of incorporating the voices. And then Anakin starts talking, and he says, like, you didn't kill me, Vader killed me, and he's like lit up blue, and then it slowly like goes dark red, and like I'm gonna kill. It's just I couldn't. I lost it. I think that's fucking awesome,
dude.
How many language
in Star Wars reviewed our series? We went through every movie. How many times did I talk about in my notes that the lighting was so purposeful? Like Kylo Ren's a good example. When it was half and half, sometimes it was all blue, sometimes it was all red.
Mm-hmm.
They always do this in Star Wars, and that's what they're telling you without telling you what they're doing. And I don't think it's a necessarily in your face thing, because you could easily miss it. It could go right over your head, whether you're a casual fan or a highly detailed fan who's been around for decades watching Star Wars. That was there again in heavy detail.
Yes,
and that voice, oh my gosh!
Oh, the voice. So I love that. I love the reflection of the blue and the red and stuff like that. I think in something like the Force Awakens, they use that to show. They use that to show on the bridge scene where Kylo kills his father Han Solo. Spoilers for the Force Awakens.
Wait, what?
The biggest spoiler possible. I just blurred out. But 2015, you had plenty of time. I think that's there to show us the actual struggle that Kylo's going through between light and dark, right? Like there's an actual struggle within that person. But today in this episode, I think they're totally using that to bait us, to show you, like, to give us hope that there's light. Here's this flash of blue on Anakin's face. Here's your hope. Absolutely not. It was never there.
There is.
I don't think so.
There is.
There's not.
But there is. And
I disagree.
That's why Luke wins.
So we
right now, though.
Right now, no. I mean, right now, I think he's pretty,
We talked about this. I did not jump in our group chat, and I'm of the mind that, like, so I think JT maybe brought it up and said that when it was blue, that was Anakin trying to give Obi-Wan
closure, right?
hope.
So it was also the line that it's like you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. So I think
I'm not your failure.
I'm not your failure. You didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did. So what people and what JT said, that like maybe that was Anakin coming through to try to give Obi-Wan some closure that he didn't really fail.
I don't really think so.
I don't think so either.
I'm more of the mind that it's Vader being an arrogant ass.
Exactly.
However, Tim, I think you're also spot on, because there is that little bit of a flicker, and that's what Luke speaks to down the road in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
So I don't, as funny as this is to say black and white,
I
don't think it's black and white, despite it being black and white, but I think that is summarizing the conflict of this character. And by the way, when Obi-Wan gets kind of the upper hand and he slashes him kind of across the top of the cape there
Yeah.
down, my mind was blown that I was yet again, as I almost always have, felt sympathy for this character. The baddest man in the universe, just one of the craziest villains in cinema history, is still a guy that you feel sympathy for.
Dude, there's so much to talk about. Like, I don't even know where I want to go next, but like the fight itself, the dialogue between them, the poetry, as you always say, the rhyming, Josiah, with their last encounter, the way it starts, and even with this is a Star Wars Rebels spoiler, Tim. I know you haven't watched that yet.
Okay.
But the way it mirrors Ahsoka's encounter with, I mean, it's literally some of the dialogue lines are exactly the same. From the it's just so cool.
The Ahsoka thing was amazing because, of course, we all wanted this, right? And then when Obi-Wan gets that slash across the helmet, I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. Like there were probably 5 or 6 occasions like I just swore out loud because I didn't know what. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. When that happens, of course, that mirrors what happens with Ahsoka in Star Wars Rebels. But I love it because in Rebels, it's the one side of the face, and here it's the other. And what an interesting thing.
And so the first thing I thought of when I saw that slash shoe, that this has to be the reason for that very obvious scar that we see in Jedi. Like, it's for sure. That's that's crazy to think that that's the kind of stuff when they go back and retcon. I'm like, I love that. There's some other stuff like Han Solo's dice and stuff like that I don't like, but that's the stuff I do like.
Even the smaller thing, like, again, I think it posted as it was like a meme, like a joke, but the good point of when, Luke says, who killed my father? Oh, Darth Vader killed my father.
They are very meticulous about the words.
100% says it right there.
Yep. They're very meticulous about the words they use to explain this stuff.
I love that. Like, again, you don't need to do that. They didn't need to do that, but they did, and that's why I love it.
So we talk about some of the rhyming and the poetry that George Lucas always talked about. Right off the get-go, when Vader lands on that planet, I love the symmetry between him and Kylo Ren's scuffle with Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren gets there and he goes, "Did you come to basically save my soul?" And Vader comes and says, "Did you come to destroy me?" Basically to say you're sorry. And Obi-Wan's not having it. And
I will do what I must, is what he says, just like he said in episode 3.
Perfect. You get the classic Obi-Wan stance with the lightsaber. You get Obi-Wan saying, "Then my friend is truly dead." Just like Luke Skywalker says in Return of the Jedi, "Then my father is truly dead." And then, of course, when Kenobi walks away at the end of this, he says, "See ya, Darth." Which is a reference right just to A New Hope where he calls him Darth like it's a name as opposed to a title, which works both ways. But
I also want to talk about Vader's response to when Obi-Wan says "I will do what I must," and just like in episode 3, he said that. Episode 3, Anakin says, "You will try," and this time around, Vader says, "Then you will die." Dude, talk about the difference, man. And that's exactly what he says to Ahsoka too.
So when we think about stuff like that, I think in a lot of cases, whether it could be a Marvel movie, it could be some of the different movies in Star Wars or series, a lot of times you get references like that and they're kind of winking at you like, "Hey, remember this?" Even though these are classic lines or bits of dialogue, it doesn't slap you in the face. It's interwoven so perfectly. It's not there just to be like, "Hey, we tied this into that movie that came out 40 years ago." No, it's very purposeful.
Yes, and it's like it's so tastefully done, I guess is the way I'll say it. Like, it works so well in the narrative. They do give us the cheeky little callback that's very obvious and it's fun. It's the title of this show when Obi-Wan meets Luke for the first time, pops up, "Hello there." Awesome. Like we needed that, right? That was amazing. But that's that's different.
Exactly. We've gotten through the meat of everything here. When he says that, by the way, I can't wait to watch the behind the scenes on this when Disney inevitably releases that, because there's so much I want to dive into.
Yes.
But that sounded like they mixed his voice with Alec Guinness's there.
I bet you they didn't. I bet you that is Ewan's craft, because I know he's been really working on that and trying to get himself close to what a younger Alec Guinness would be. I bet you they didn't, but I could be wrong.
See, my bet would be that they did only because they've meshed those two specifically, their voices on numerous occasions now.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about Force Awakens or Rise of Skywalker, but I'm curious to
But
see.
I think this is them trying to let him shine though. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. To me, I think it would be that's probably all him. But we'll see.
But we get, of course, as teased from the very beginning, we see Liam Neeson there returning as Qui-Gon Jinn. I read today that in an interview, Liam said he always looked back fondly at his time in Phantom Menace, despite what people said about the movie. And he said also Ewan has always been a friend.
Yeah,
and I was like,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was a good payoff, right? Like we finally got that. What a nice way to end that series. Them walking off together.
Yeah, great little Jedi wisdom there. It's like, oh, you're finally here. I've been here the whole time. Only now you can finally see me. It's perfect.
It's a good explanation, right? Because like it's teased at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and it's like, why has this not happened all these years later? Because it makes sense now, right? Kenobi is distanced himself from the Force. He's back in tune with it, and there's his old master.
All the answers we get to fill in these gaps are like so good, like so purposeful. And like, I mean, we talk about how Rogue One makes you want to watch A New Hope right away. I want to watch A New Hope right after watching this. Seeing all the seeds that plant to A New Hope, like that's when it can complement what came before it so well is when they did it just an incredible job, just like Rogue One.
Do you guys want to do a rewatch?
Maybe
make a series about it.
Rank all the Star Wars movies. That'd be pretty killer.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
A rewatch.
Rewatch.
You know what?
So we finished Star Wars for the 7th time. We're gonna do a re.
The rankings
loved it so much.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of A New Hope, when we see Obi-Wan's send off with Leia, that was beautiful. Of course,
dude.
The way he talks about Anakin and Padme.
That's the one. That's the one that got me. Like I was in I was swelling.
Yeah, that's where I was too.
That was, dude.
Look.
And the way he talks so fondly about Anakin still, man, like that's so awesome.
And what better, Ewan captures this whole closure and peace thing so wonderfully because his character changes. He really does, and you see it. And what better way than when Leia makes a joke and he kind of just giggles. He has that ha 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 ha, and I was like,
yeah.
What?
Awesome.
Like, we got a miserable Obi-Wan through a lot of this series.
And
we've got a guy who's kind of like, good one, Leia. I love it.
Then the blaster joke too. She's like, he gives her the holster, and she's like, well, it's empty. Well, you're 10 years old. I'm not going to give you a blaster. And then right after that, but you won't always be. Oh my God! Right in the feels. Yeah. But you won't always be 10 years old. Oh.
I just really what I want to do now is go to work, shut my door, and watch all the episodes in a row.
Yes.
Without any breaks. Now that they're all out, and just be like, just take it all in at once, like it's a movie.
Yeah.
Well, Tim's assistant, if you're watching, book off about 5 hours.
5 hours.
5 hours out of a schedule.
Another thing I love about this show is like it has opened so many doors for other Star Wars properties that we can explore, right? Like, so we know Reva is alive and she's had this change of heart. Obviously, she was the one we talked about who's going to be the one to confront Reva on Tatooine, who's going to stop her from killing Luke. Awesome that it was her. She was the one who came to her senses and didn't want to become the thing that she's hated. But who's the other guy, the leader of the Path, who was helping them? Do you have his name, Joe?
Rojak? Something like that. Roken.
It's Roken. I think it's Roken. I think Roken sounds good. But like that seems like Obi-Wan gives him a compliment, like, "Oh, you're great at this. You're doing great work." And he goes, "Oh, I'm only getting started." Like that seems like such a planted seed for like maybe a show about the Jedi path. Like there's so many and little Leia. Give me more Leia. I don't care. I'm in. Give me little Leia. Give her a show. Like use that actress again in something in the future.
See what happened like a good amount before
we're getting so many awesome plants to see how the rebellion comes to fruition. Because the rebellion is so many different rebellions, right? We've learned that throughout Rebels and stuff like that. Like the rebellion is tons of rebellions that these people find each other, these cells find each other, and it becomes this bigger thing. So I'd love to see that explored, like especially finally with some of the main characters. We've seen it in Rebels, we've seen it in Rogue One. Like I'd love to see it with like the core cast, like with Leia, Bail Organa, Mon Mothma. That would be insane.
I would love
to see something with Leia, dude. I mean, think about it. Right now, what are we getting in Marvel? We're getting a series focused on a kid in Miss Marvel. Give us that with Leia and what her day-to-day looks like. After this, it's been a long time now. I was in the middle of the book Leia, And there's a lot of what we saw in Alderaan and how she interacts with Bail and Brea, her parents. In we got that glimpse of them having that party. That's a lot of what the book Leia is about. I think you really could develop that and get more out of it.
Yeah,
Like
even
that would be a beautiful thing.
Even if you recast again and do a teenager, someone who's like in a more formative years, who's actually making bigger decisions, stuff like that, or just wait and use this girl because she's awesome.
I would love I'd love it because I really did like Reva a lot. I would like it if so one little tidbit we didn't talk about last time is since then we had, I guess it's confirmed that Cal Kestis is signed on to do his own, possibly his own Disney Plus series. We don't know. I don't know if that's confirmed.
I think that's just a rumor. Yeah, it's a rumor.
Well, if it is a rumor, I would love it if they incorporated Reva into that.
Could be, yes, like, super interesting.
New arc. Hey, I'm going to help the Jedi, kind of teams up with Cal. Like, I think that'd be pretty awesome because you kind of see in Fallen Order, he teams up with someone who, has used the dark side, or you know what I mean? Like, I just think that would be an awesome dynamic.
Cal's got plenty of experience with Inquisitors, so I mean, it makes sense.
Man, to get a series on that would be awesome. The rumor is, if you haven't seen it, a Cal Kestis based series. Cal is the star of Jedi Fallen Order, and then the soon to be Jedi Survivor, the sequel. And Cameron Monaghan, who plays him, has been a lifetime Star Wars fan. It's basically like us in a way, like if he were, but he's in acting, right? Like he does that. So I can see him signing up for that tomorrow. Then there's rumors too that, hey, maybe Reva finds her way into Jedi Survivor right around the same time frame. So lots of good stuff there. We talked about all the possible branches and all the things that this planted for the future of Star Wars. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've had a lot of friends and acquaintances and colleagues get into Star Wars because of this. And that's a really fun thing for me, because that is like, I don't know, you get it. Like you got the bug now. I talk about things all the time being contagious, and what we do and the fun and the passion we have for video games and for pop culture, Star Wars, Marvel. That's so contagious. And I'm so happy to see so many friends that are diving into this for the first time. They're going back and watching the movies. They're saying, hey, should I start with Rebels? Should I go with Clone Wars? Like, all of it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have anybody that's like just getting into it right now, but I've got a few friends that really dislike the prequels and are really put off by most of Disney Star Wars stuff that have come back for Obi-Wan. Like, wow, this is the best thing that Disney has done with Star Wars since they've touched it. That's refreshing to see.
I just don't see a lot of the complaints on Obi-Wan. It's just like, maybe I'll feel differently when I watch it a second time, but I just like, it was like a constant high. Like
everything I've seen is the most nitpicky, insane stuff. Like, why wouldn't they have done this? Well, why wouldn't the Star Destroyer shoot at Obi-Wan when he left the planet? Like that kind of stupid stuff. Like, really, you're focused on the logistics of that kind of stuff. Like, oh my God, it's Star Wars, guys. Like, relax.
Right. Okay. So why didn't
Star Wars isn't realistic?
Destroy the pod in the first 10 minutes of A New Hope? Right.
Right. Series over.
Go down that path and get stupid quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many what ifs, dumb stuff.
There's so many, even on my own social media, people that are posting about this that are not. It's few and far between. But the people that don't like it are laying out a lot of things. And to me, with all due respect, those people made up their mind on Star Wars long ago, and this is just fueling whatever angle they want.
It's almost like there's a very clear answer to it, and it's, you don't like Star Wars and you don't want to like it. So why are you why are you doing this to yourself? Like, why are you just hopping on this and just tearing apart the logistics in the the nuances of a fantasy show, right? Like a space opera. You're asking about, how'd they get there so quickly? How'd they do this and that? You don't want to like this. Just leave. You don't want to like this. It's fine. It's fine. But why you? Yeah,
just cut it out.
Why are you spending the energy to tear this down just because you want? Like, ugh.
Yeah,
dude. Like it's no secret I don't like Game of Thrones. But guess what? I'm not going around and trying to actively throw my opinion on people and say, yeah, you should not like it also because I think it's stupid. It's stupid. If you like it, I'm so happy that you like Game of Thrones. I hope you are like passionately into it. You read the books, you watch the TV, whatever. With just leave us alone. Just see ya. Bye.
Yeah.
You have too much time on your hands.
It's very obvious with Star Wars because it's such a big property. So it's like there's so many of those people that just want to like tear down everybody else and nitpick to death.
it's at or near the top, depending on who you ask, right? That's the one you gun for. So
Right.
hey, whatever.
I think
Go ahead.
I was gonna say one little thing we didn't talk about. I know we're kind of focused on a little bit on. We talked Reva a little bit. We talked about Obi-Wan and Vader. What about the whole Owen
And
scene
Brew.
where
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
I really, really liked that. I didn't anticipate that they would be super involved in this series, but I love that they set up a plan.
Dude.
They got a tip.
And Peru is just ready to throw down. Like, just absolute ready.
What a line when Reva says you're protecting him like he's one of your own. And
he is my own.
Yes.
Yeah.
It executes so well. And of course, it's nice with Luke saying, "I'm not afraid," right?
Yeah.
Just like he does in Empire Strikes Back.
I'm happy with how they handled Luke. I was worried. I was worried that like they're very deliberate. Like he's up the ladder before Reva walks in. She has her lightsaber ignited, but he doesn't see the lightsaber. Right when Reva's chasing him, she's just this cloaked figure. He doesn't really know what's going on. He's not going to be able to deduce that he was pulled off the cliff by the Force. Right? Like they were very good with it. More Luke than I expected, for sure. I didn't expect to get that much of it. Like I said in our last episode, I expected the conflict to happen away from the the Owen and Beru Lars farm, and it to get resolved before Luke got involved. But I mean, it makes perfect sense to have her draw back to Reva, and when she was a youngling, and she's literally about to become the thing that she swore to defeat. Right? Like that's the classic trope. That's what Vader is. Just good.
What a good casting.
Yeah. Oh, she was awesome.
Moses Ingram as Reva, gotta say,
incredible.
One of my favorite parts of the series that had so many high points and so many things to like. And I really love the arc that it took. I love the emotion we see as she's kneeling down after she gives Luke back to the Lars family. And I love that Obi-Wan can kind of, sit down and put his hand on her shoulder essentially and be like, "Hey, it's okay." And they both have this odd closure now. And she ended up being such a good character. I was worried that she was going to be just a castaway. Like, hey, she's got some cool moves, but we're never going to see her again. And maybe we don't see her again. But where I'm going with this is the emotional depth. I never anticipated us getting there with an Inquisitor. Right. Or at least someone on the inside.
Yeah, we all kind of suspected this backstory for her, and we didn't. I didn't expect it to have this kind of a payoff, though. I expected it to kind of be like a, for lack of a better term, a kamikaze mission where she has this burning passion for whatever reason, and that's her one note, and she goes out on it. I didn't expect to have a redemption arc and to have this be a character that I'm excited to possibly see again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely, incredibly done. Well done, Moses. Well done, just all round on how this was executed. Palpatine was, I think, if we were talking maybe back in the beginning of this, we said, "Hey, who do you want to see?" That was who I said. I said I want to see Palpatine in some way, shape, or form, and I didn't know if we'd actually get him. We always know he's somehow tied to Vader in a lot of ways in the background, but to actually see Ian McDiarmid come back and play him yet again, really, really awesome. And I love that moment where he's kind of saying, "Yeah, are you going soft on me, Vader?" And Vader recommits to the Emperor at that point. Thought it was well done.
Yeah, I loved it.
I think that's a good finishing point too, because you kind of question, like, if Vader was hunting him down so much, how is he able just to kind of hang out on Tatooine and not get found? That's a good point. Like, he's basically saying, like, okay, I'm done with it.
Let it go.
I'm moving on.
Yep.
Let it go. And I think that's a good way to kind of say, hey, freeze up the story a little bit. I just love everything. They tied everything.
They're doing their best to tie all of these knots to prevent all of the nerds that we just talked about who are trying to tear everything down. They're doing their best. They're buttoning this up as well as they possibly can.
It's tight, man.
Yeah.
Think about it, like when you're going back and let's say you're George Lucas doing the prequels after you had already done the original trilogy. You know where you're ending, but you have a ton of space this way to do whatever you want. They had an unenviable task of being in the middle of such two prominent movies.
To work between just that. And not get anything wrong and not break canon. I mean, those were some of the complaints early on. Oh, they broke canon with Leia knowing about Obi-Wan. They broke canon with the Grand Inquisitor being dead. Like, relax. No, they didn't. Give them some time. Like, let the story play out. And then, how about that at the end? The Leia and Obi-Wan goodbye and that conversation was like, all right, like this was amazing, but like, it didn't really happen. You don't know me. It's not safe for us to communicate. Maybe one day in the future you may need me, but that's plenty enough for me to suspend the disbelief. And now when I watch A New Hope and I see that conversation, like I'm gonna think of this. Like this. Sometimes things happen and they rewrite stuff and they retcon stuff and it doesn't feel like canon to me. It just feels like, okay, that didn't actually happen. Like I know you said it happened, but I don't feel it. I'm totally gonna feel that now when I watch New Hope. When I see that message, I'm gonna remember little Leia and the fact that Obi-Wan already saved her life. Like it's so additive.
How about one thing I saw tonight online was great. With Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically, this is again. So Rogue One took my love of A New Hope to a new level, and I think this is doing the same. When Obi-Wan looks over when he's fighting in A New Hope with Vader, and he looks at Luke, and he makes up that decision at that point. I've got the upper hand. I'm going to let Vader win, so I get what I want. Oh, and also Luke and Leia escape. There's a beautiful thing online that says Obi-Wan's looking over and he's smiling because he sees Luke and Leia together. And that's just like, oh my gosh, you always just fixate on Luke and think that's what it's about. It's not.
Yep.
She's right there with him in terms of how important they are to the future of the galaxy and if it's going to survive or not. And I love that. Like that changes so much.
My job is done. I've reunited them, and
yes,
now I can watch over them
on the path. I've got them on the path, and this is a sacrifice worth making. Just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Someone put it online in a review last night. This was the best way to put it in terms of how you have to color between the lines with episode 3 and 4 on the bookends. And they said Disney was basically dancing between raindrops. And I was like, that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. And they crushed it.
Going on.
They crushed it.
It.
They pirouetted.
Yeah.
Deborah Chow deserves a lot of credit for this because I was not a fan of some of the episodes she did for The Mandalorian. And I think they were some of the weaker ones that existed. So when I heard she was going to be in charge of the Kenobi series, I was a little bit leery. I was dead wrong. She nailed it. She was incredible. The point contact person for this. She led the charge. Obviously, you've got Filoni and Favreau in the background doing their thing, right? But this was Deborah's show. And now I'm of the mind, give her whatever she wants. I want more from her.
Right.
Thought it was absolutely awesome. She did an amazing job.
Oh, dude, I've talked about it, but the cinematography in these lightsaber battles, like there's nothing in any Star Wars show that looks anything close to this. Like the way this is shot and directed from cinematography, from color, from like just visually is just jaw-dropping.
It really is. It really is. I'm thinking about random thoughts here as we're probably, getting winded down this episode. When Obi-Wan is buried under the debris, the rocks. What a power move by Vader, right?
Yeah.
Like we really are seeing these guys at the height of their power. He basically splits the earth and buries Obi-Wan.
Speaking of,
anyone think we were going to get a high ground reference?
I was just gonna say, speaking of height, that they couldn't have done that, right? Like they couldn't have gotten that in there. That would have been a little too much.
Like asking someone where you get your last name from. Like,
what's
your last name?
Yeah. Solo.
I can see if they executed it right and they did everything else in the series. Vader being real sarcastic about it. That's how he is, like, right? He's kind of sarcastic.
Look who has the high ground now. And then like walking away.
I don't know how you do that and not make Vader seem petty about that. Like even if it is sarcastic, like the fact that he brings that up is petty, So I think the visual was enough because like they knew they knew they gave that to us for sure.
Again, we made a big point of that though. Like Joe said it, I don't know how many times they needed to do. Sometimes in the movies they did too much telling and not enough showing, and this is the perfect example of how to
show me, baby.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they did that really throughout this series too. Like there was not a point where I felt like they were like, "Hey guys, did you see that?" It was not like that. It was
never
like
an exposition dump.
Yes, exactly. So when Obi-Wan is buried and he finds the will to force that out, I love that the reason is because he's thinking about Luke and Leia. Like I have to survive so that this happens, so that they get on that path that we later see in A New Hope.
And that proves your point even more. Of A New Hope of like him getting there and then being like, my job's done.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I love the way that we see Vader walking away. We don't see Kenobi, and then Vader senses him, right? And sure enough, there he is. There's Kenobi, and he is all out. That sequence I could watch over and over and over again. It's so good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This was the perfect midway point between what I would hope to see from a lightsaber duel. 10 years, right? After Revenge of the Sith, before A New Hope, right in the middle of it. They're not quite the samurai that we see in episode 3. They're not quite the old guys that we see in episode 4. they find a good balance. And I think it was always going to be really tricky to have Vader have a really energetic lightsaber duel.
Yeah.
And I think they pulled it off.
Yeah, he just had they forced him to use two hands, a couple of times in this, which he doesn't often do with he does in the New Hope, I guess, but like the style's different. He definitely has to get a bit more flexible in this fight than we've ever seen Vader have to be.
And there's certain things too that call back to some of the other lightsaber fights. Like there's a point where Kenobi's going ham on him and he's going left and then right. And that's Vader actually almost shot for shot how he defends himself from Luke in their fight in Return of the Jedi. Take a look again. It's like, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
I'll be watching.
And then, many more times. If you flash back to part 5, where we see the flashback with Hayden and Ewan in the Jedi Temple. I don't know if you guys have seen any of this, but people have cut up the way they're fighting with their fight from Revenge of the Sith. And it's not identical, but it flows almost the exact same way. Yeah, with the choreography. Just incredible attention to detail that people like us really, really appreciate. And I've always enjoyed the prequels, maybe to a fault. And to see this series and how well it's been received, I'm sure Ewan and Hayden can agree with this. It just feels like justice for those guys and anyone involved with them, because it gives new life to how those are looked at. I think as we move forward.
I would say like the way I put it is it gave them the material they finally deserved, because like that's maybe the biggest flaw with the prequels is some of the writing and some of the technology at the time. Some of them
direction.
Yeah, writing, direction, technology. What they had to work with was, for lack of a better term, a little rough. There's a reason George Lucas is a great idea man and writer, but maybe not the best director around, huh? But they're finally given what they've always deserved. Like it's what we wanted. It's exactly what we wanted going into this.
You need a team, right? And Lucas had that on the original trilogy, not so much on the prequels, and we saw it here definitely on full display. Ryan in the chat, so he said, so you think about Vader's quote, "I was the student and now I am the master" in episode 4. Are we going to see Vader grow in future series? Maybe. I mean,
God, I hope so.
That's my biggest want.
Like he's ready to go.
That's my biggest want, man. That is it, man. Like that people. I've seen people say it's too much. I've seen people kind of throw that into the same conversation of like, we don't need a Kenobi season 2 and we don't need a Vader show. I'm like, okay, hold on. Those are very different. Like, we don't need a Kenobi season 2. That's called A New Hope. Like this story is good to go, but there's so much Vader to tell. Like there is so much. There's years of your material. You can go before this. You can go after. You can make 2 seasons of a Vader show. Like, I'm so in for that.
Dude, there's so many stories to be had. I would love to see it from the protagonist's viewpoint with Vader, and I think it can be done because it has not been done in Star Wars. Let's make that happen. And some people that detract from that viewpoint, and they argue with me. They're like, "You want more Vader? That's all Star Wars is." I'm like, "No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not true. I want more Vader. I want a Vader focus series where he is the guy. Give me it.
Yeah, show me his struggle and like him trying to figure out the life of a Sith and everything like that. Sorry, Tim.
That's okay. I was gonna kind of piggyback off that a little bit. So obviously, one little big thing that happened this week is Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness is out on Disney Plus.
Oh yeah,
kind of made me start thinking. I would love a Star Wars series that takes a darker approach like that did, like the horror, effect to it. Maybe having that include Darth Vader, where it's like, hey, they're hunting down these old Jedi or whatever, and like having that kind of tone to it, where it's like, because that's what it is. It's,
there's flashes of that here.
Certainly. Like, I'd love to see them like kind of take it and run with it and say, hey,
Yeah, what was that, episode 2 or 3 when he's snapping necks and dragging people through the sand? Like, we've got splashes of that there. Like,
let's see it.
Disney,
it'd be awesome.
Disney's not afraid to show us that side of Vader. Like, we always probably assumed that they would be. Like, we always assumed that A, they'd probably stay away from this character, keep it sacred, don't touch that kind of stuff, and B, definitely not go the violent route. It's Disney. They've proven us wrong on both of those fronts. So yes, give me a Vader show.
All.
They've gotten Vader right in everything I think that they've done. In owning this character, so to speak. You think about even how Jedi Fallen Order goes. Perfect. Think about this series. Rogue One. Oh my gosh. One of the most iconic sequences for me in all of Star Wars. Rebels, how that is handled. The Clone Wars in the small season that we had with Disney Plus so far. They understand that character. Like you said, they're not afraid to do that, which I thought they would be. So lean into it hard. Give us a Vader series. Tim, I think that's a great point. You can get into some of that crazy stuff that we see in Multiverse of Madness where we didn't see it in Marvel before, or at least in the MCU. And it could be dark. It could be Vader's demons, flashbacks, things he's thinking about, some of the Sith he has to almost encounter through Palpatine in terms of spirits. It could get really messy, and I think it'd be worth exploring.
You guys haven't finished it yet, but in the third book of The Light of the Jedi, it's, horror style type book, in my opinion. And, that made me think of that. Like, they could do it very easily and incorporate it. And they didn't even have to use Vader. They could do it it could be very easy to do it. You know what I mean? So there's so many realms Vader out there. And I want Vader too. But
and like I said, Hayden and you have both publicly said, hey, we want to do more of this. Hey, they're feeling good, right? They're getting that reception.
Top of the world right now for them,
I love it. I love it so much for Hayden, especially. Anything in Kenobi, parts 1 through 6, anything we were missing, anything that we were lacking, wanted that we really didn't get, what could be better?
I mean, I don't have any answers. The only thing you can say is like, oh yeah, more fun cameos. Give me a Cal Kestis or something like that. But like, that's
being spoiled though.
Yeah, that's pie in the sky. Like, would that even fit? Yeah. Where's the room for that? Like, where does that even have time to breathe? I don't know. Like,
it wasn't a back to tank.
Exactly. in this story that they actually gave us, there's no room for that, right? So like the story would have had to go somewhere else for us to get that. And I don't think the ship has sailed on a Cal Kestis in live action. So I think we're all right.
And again, I would, for me, in my opinion, I would love if they did a Cal Kestis Disney Plus show, bringing in a Vader or I feel like that would be more fitting in that scenario, opposed to vice versa.
Right.
Bringing in them for their series, like in Ahsoka, if you bring in Vader for Ahsoka at some point,
Vader's got to be in Ahsoka. Vader
would be insane.
Got to be in Ahsoka.
Or even Obi-Wan coming back in for like an episode. Like you could do it. It's ridiculous. It'd be awesome.
It's true. It's so true.
But it fits so much better that way, I feel like, than bringing in someone who has no place in their entire story. Aside from Ahsoka would be the exception. Like, where does Cal Kestis really fit? It'd be more of a fan service that you probably don't need to do.
The only thing that made sense is maybe the path. It's this it's this exposure to other Jedi that are going through this path, and on the these people helping out the Jedi. It could have made sense there, but again, I don't think we've closed that path like that. I think we're going to get something about that. They wouldn't have set this very specific this very specific beat up with these characters that are going to that. I don't know. It just seems too promising for them to have just given us that and not do more with. I think we'll see a path show.
Of course, we always want more Star Wars and more things. Do we want a second season of Kenobi?
No chance, dude. Like, come on. What are we doing at that point? What's the pitch? What do you got for me? Don't.
Unless you follow Kenobi without Darth Vader, is the only way I feel like you could do it.
Oh, for sure.
They have to be done. Like,
it has to end there. It was perfect.
What I already struggled with the question once, and they gave us a perfect answer.
Yeah.
The only answer. What pulls Kenobi back into the fight?
Right.
Leia. Never considered it.
No.
What pulls him back in again? I don't think that we need that.
The only thing that I can think of is like you're giving us Obi-Wan on Tatooine with Qui-Gon training, but like, what's the conflict? How do you make that interesting? There's just not, and I don't want you to make one because I'm settled. This is good. This is such a perfect. You did it. You danced through the raindrops. Okay, like you don't need to try to take on a tidal wave at this point.
It'd be like an episode of Metal Gear Solid where all of a sudden his codex is ringing. He's like, Snake, I need your help, and then he's got to go somewhere else again. I feel like I don't know. I don't think you should do it. I think you're good.
If in a year or two they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do another season of Kenobi," I'd be like, "Hell yeah!" If you told me right now, I don't want it because I think this.
Just don't know what it could be. Yeah, it was just such a good send off. Unless it's like a prequel series. It was the 10 years we missed here. I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you do this again?
Just doesn't make sense.
I don't think so. And I think about since Disney took over. This is my favorite thing since Force Awakens. That's saying a lot.
I would say this is my favorite thing that Disney has done. Period.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd 100% agree.
Absolutely. Huge.
And I love The Force Awakens.
I know. So just to say that is monumental for how we view those movies. where do we go from here? We talked about
Withdrawal.
the series we wanted. I don't even know. Like, I can't think about anything other than Kenobi parts 1 through 6 right now.
Right. Same.
That's it. That's all I got.
If anyone needs a support group, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter.
You can rewatch these these reaction videos. They're up on YouTube as well. They could use your help right now.
Yes, that is true. All right, I guess we'll wrap up for now. This series, hello there. We've appreciated you joining us, whether live on twitch.tv/thegeekiverse, watching them back at youtube.com/thegeekiverse, or listening on podcast services wherever you download podcasts. We do have some exciting stuff coming up. John, if fans here want to get more Star Wars, obviously they can go back and listen or rewatch hello there, what we've done so far. But if they want some buddies to talk through the movies with, we just did a pretty sweet series that concluded a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we've done them all. So we just wrapped up Star Wars Reviewed. We went through every movie. We've included Solo and Rogue One, not just the Skywalker saga, but every Star Wars movie that has hit the big screen. We watched them all in release order. Tim watched Rise of Skywalker with us for the first time during that, and we recorded a podcast after every episode, and we ranked them. So that was fun. Is it controversial? Of course not. Just go in and agree with the rankings because they're right.
100% they are. Tim, we've got something sweet coming up in less than 48 hours. You and I are part of a really, really cool event. It's not really geek related at all, but you and I are we're playing hockey for a good cause. If people want to throw any last second donations or want to know more about said event, would you mind introducing that to the viewers?
Yeah, so we're doing an event called the 11-Day Power Play in Buffalo. Essentially, it's a Guinness World Record. It's 11 days of straight hockey. And essentially, our part of this is we're taking 3-hour community shift. Joe was courteous enough to be a team captain and invite me on, and I could not be more excited. And I think it goes to what? It goes to Roswell, O'Shea's Children's Hospital out by us, and then also
like Camp Good Days.
Yeah,
Camp Good Days. One other one, right? It was but we just did the December charity event. Why can I think of it?
There's a handful.
There's a handful.
There's a bunch.
Yeah, their bottom line is to put cancer on ice. So that's kind of
cancer on ice.
That's the goal there.
And if you're on Facebook, I think we both post stuff on Facebook, Twitter. We have links that you can find to donate. Like I said, we say every time we do this, a big thing for me when Joe asked me to be involved and I started streaming on Twitch and stuff like that, is I always wanted to make a difference. And this is another good way to do it, whether it's playing video games. If I can do something that I love, and Joe's the same way, if we get to do stuff that we love, why would we not do it for a good cause? We're giving back and making a difference. So, you will always find me out. If there's something I can do and I enjoy doing it, I will 100% do it if it involves charity. So
think about how awesome it is, right? We're friends with Del Reed and the guys over at 26 Shirts. That's what they do. They constantly raise money for those who need it. We've been able to play video games for hours upon hours, and we're about to play hockey for hours upon hours and raise money for really good causes. So you can do what you love and do it for a really, really good reason as well. Check out the 11daypowerplay.com. Search Bank on Buffalo. That's our team. Co-captain here with our good friend Derek Kramer. From the stream that we did a few weeks back, it was about 200 degrees where we filmed. It's cooled off a little. It's like 180 now, which is good. Anyway, we raised about $1,000, just shy of $1,000. So thank you for pitching in and making that happen. All of that is going to the 11-day power play, specifically our Team Bank on Buffalo. So for hello there. Oh man, it's so bittersweet.
Wait, don't end it, because this is my last Star Wars stuff.
We gotta.
Is it though? Is it though?
Almost every week I've been watching Star Wars. This is sad.
True. It's the last Star Wars for maybe some weeks or some months here. All right, we'll get
I don't know about that. That seems like a while. We got Mandalorian that Tim I just found out hasn't watched. Let's boot this thing up next week.
Honestly, we'll not even kidding. We're in the middle of MCU reviewed still. I'm already in my head going, we should start Mando.
Yeah, 100%. We're doing it.
All right, it's sold. So check us out soon. We'll talk about it. We're gonna be talking about the Mandalorian and rewatching that. For John and Tim, I'm Josiah. Thanks for tuning in to Hello There. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.